Good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome you to Builder Super Week. We have a presentation from the BC Housing today, so I'm going to say a few words and then introduce Larry Clay, our chair of our Education Committee. My name is Neil Moody. I'm the CEO of the Canadian Home Builders Association of British Columbia. Please learn more about what we do because we're here to help the industry. So I'd now like to introduce the chair of our Education Committee, Larry Clay. Larry Clay is the president of Clay Construction, a company he founded in 2004 after a career as a teacher. Locally, Larry is very involved in the Greater Vancouver Home Builders Association and CHBA BC. Currently, he is the vice president of GVHBA and will be the president later this year. He currently chairs the Education and Training Committee and is a long-term member of the Technical Committee. He is last year's, he says, Builder Member of the Year for GVHBA. He's very committed. Provincially, Clay Construction is a Grand Georgie winner for Best Custom Home Builder in BC, as well as Grand Georgie for Customer Satisfaction. I mean, he's got his act together. He is the chairman of the Education and Training Committee for the Canadian Home Builders Association of BC, and he was the first member to receive his Master Builder Certification designation from CHBA BC. Nationally, he serves on the National Executive Committee for Professional Development for the Canadian Home Builders Association and the Net Zero Committee as well. Larry is passionate about quality of construction and seeing the bar raised for builders and ensuring professionalism is raised in the industry. He is married with 6 kids. I'll repeat that, 6 kids. And works very hard to feed them all. So please welcome Larry Clay.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Neil. Good afternoon, fellow builders, renovators, and leaders in the industry. Our national association is the one that has set the 11 benchmark courses to receive your Master Builder designation. And BC is the only one that has put all of the coursework together. In fact, we're so far ahead, we're going through all of the courses a second time to make them even better. We have sold our courses to Newfoundland, and we're now negotiating with Ontario to be providers for their courses. Well, let me introduce Wendy Acheson. Wendy, she is Vice President and Registrar of Licensing and Consumer Services, a branch of BC Housing. Wendy has 20 years of experience in licensing and the regulation of professionals, as well as legal matters, government, housing, and consumer protection. She is responsible for administering the Homeowner Protection Act, overseeing licensing compliance and consumer service operations. Please join me and give Wendy a warm welcome.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time today updating you on where we're at in those initiatives regarding raising the bar. This week, it was just this week 2 years ago in 2015 that Minister Rich Coleman, who is the minister responsible for housing, he has been the minister responsible for housing for over a decade now. Anyway, he announced that there were going to be changes to the Homeowner Protection Act regulations, and those changes have been asked for by the home building industry for some time. You wanted to raise the bar for professionalism in the industry by ensuring that anyone who's building a home in BC has a minimum level of knowledge commensurate with their responsibility. So that meant qualification standards for new license applications, continuing professional development for existing licensed builders, and an exam for owner builders. So I'm going to update you on those changes now that they're implemented. So who do the changes apply to? I think most of you know that most of those new requirements apply to general contractors of Part 9 homes. Built under, Part 9 of the Building Code and the Vancouver Building Bylaw. And licensees are now classified as either general contractors or developers. So far, our licensees are 90% have actually classified as general contractors, and about 10% is either developers only or building envelope renovators. So most of these changes do actually apply to most of our licensees. As of March 4th, 2016, so just a year ago, any general contractor wanting to become a licensed residential builder who was not already licensed had to meet experience and training requirements. So that was something that no other province in Canada has done. That was new, and they're certainly looking very carefully at what we're doing. A minimum of 24 months of experience supervising or managing residential construction is required, and then training in the 7 core competencies: building code, construction management and supervision, building technology, customer service and home warranty insurance, financial planning and management, legal issues, and business planning and management. Those are the 7 core competencies that new licensees must be competent in before they become a licensee. And CHBA BC has those courses, as alluded to, in all of those 7 core competencies. In fact, if you take 6 of those training courses, you can get a certification from the CHBC. And we do have other training providers that are in the process of developing courses in those 7 core competencies as well. So for applicants who do not have the formal training but may have experience, so people who've learned to be a builder on the job, as many people have, or builders from other jurisdictions, they may be able to prove that they're qualified and competent through participating in what we call the Prior Learning Assessment and Recognition Process, so PLAR for short. Something to keep in mind, which is very important, is if you do apply, and if you're talking to somebody who wants to apply and does not have those training courses, they want to apply through Prior Learning Assessment and Recognition, it is a lengthy process. Because we're looking at each individual application, which is unique. It depends on that person's unique experience. So it does take a while, and quite honestly, if you want to be sure that you are going to get a license and you are going to be recognized as qualified, it's really better to look at those training courses. If you take the training courses and you pass the exam and you have the minimum 2 years experience, you will get a license. The Prior Learning Assessment and Recognition process is based on our looking at your experience and recognizing it as equivalent, which is not a done deal. If you take the courses, you have a much better chance of actually becoming licensed, and it would be a much faster process. In fact, we have 3 streams for license applications right now. Those that are already qualified or deemed qualified are a much quicker approval process, and then those that have taken the training, and then thirdly, those folks that are going through the equivalency process through PLAR. Now, before I give you the update on continual professional development, and I know there's always quite a bit of interest from our existing licensees and CHBA members here on CPD questions, I did want to give you a quick update on the owner-builder process as well. This owner-builder process was a very important part of the package of raising the bar and minimum qualifications. So not only folks who were licensed as builders needed to have a requirement of knowledge, but also people who are building a home for their own use. So as well as the current criteria required for an owner-builder authorization, as of July 4th, 2016, owner-builders are required to pass a home building basics exam. Now, this requirement was introduced to enhance the quality of residential construction, reduce the number of false owner builders, and level the playing field for licensed builders. It's an hour-long exam based on 100 multiple choice questions comprised of construction basics, as well as testing people on their knowledge of an owner-builder's statutory responsibilities under the Homeowner Protection Act, which we had found had been lacking sometimes. The exam's invigilated at test centers across the province, and the applicants, they must identify themselves and take the exam in person. So it's not an online exam. People do have to show that they, as the owner-builder applicant, are the ones taking the exam. And that's working quite well. Since July 4th, when the exam became a requirement, we've received 1,211 owner-builder applications, There's been a 72% pass rate for those taking the exam, and it is a 70%, you need to get a 70% grade to pass the exam. And the statistics on that are quite interesting too. Approximately 1/3 of the applicants have passed the exam. Of the 1,200 applicants that we have so far, 1/3 of those have passed and been approved for owner builders. 1/3 are either pending review or pending taking the exam. So they've been approved to take the exam. They haven't taken the exam yet. There's quite a large chunk of people in that situation. And 1/3 were actually denied or withdrew their application before taking the exam. So the number of owner builder applications going through are definitely lower than they had been previously, which we expected to happen because part of the reason for doing it was to cut down on the number of the illegal owner builders, which was situations where owners were contacting unlicensed builders to build their home for them. They would take the owner builder paperwork out but not actually build the home themselves. And of course the other group of people that were legitimately building a home for themselves, but maybe didn't know how to build a home for themselves. And we certainly have heard from building officials across the province that was fairly common as well. So those folks may not be as successful in taking the exam either. We have the monthly New Homes Registry report, which I put a copy of on everybody's seat here. And just to give you a sense of how that's affecting the number of owner builders in the province, if you look at the third page, figure 6, it's a little graph. I love graphs. If you look at the 2016 year to date, so that would be January and February, you'll see that there were 349 owner builders approved at the end of February 2016. And this year to date, there were 170. So significantly less owner builders being approved. And of course, what we want to see happening is more licensed builders being approved. And we are starting to see people who had maybe they were doing work for owner builders are starting to apply to us for a license, which is exactly what we want to see. We want to make sure that those people that are in the industry are licensed just like you are, and providing home warranty insurance to consumers of those new homes. So continuing professional development, or CPD as we call it, that's for existing general contractors as well as new general contractor licensees. All existing licensees are keeping current, and that's actually going very well. We've been issuing quarterly reminders to all general contractor licensees, so you've probably been getting those emails reminding you of how many points you have logged into the system. And we've had extra staff on board to answer questions that you might have about either logging your continued professional development, how to find training opportunities for your CPD. We've had really amazing results. As of October last year, that's when people started renewing their license and having to show that they had those 40 points of CPD. Only 5% of renewing applicants had not completed all of their 40 points of CPD. And even of that 5%, most of them had at least some of their CPD points. So there's been what I think is really tremendous compliance, and really shows the commitment of the residential builder community to embrace this change, be a leader, as Larry had said before, in moving forward and showing your professionalism. So kudos to you. The renewal rates themselves have been very high. In October, only 15 out of the 432 people who were renewing their license chose not to renew at all. And in November, 22 out of 455, so 5% did not renew. So people are renewing. They're not just abandoning their license. They are renewing, and they are taking CPD. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a quick overview of the system, and then share some tips with you as to some of the frequently asked questions we get in our office about CPD. So the point system, of course, is comprised of active practice, formal learning, and informal learning. And licensees must obtain those 40 points of CPD every year as a condition of their license. And if you're an active builder, you can log 20 points, a maximum of 20 points towards that 40 points in the active practice category. And that means that you're actively managing construction as a residential builder. Now, if you're actively building one or more homes during the term of your license as a general contractor, you can claim those points in that category, and you have to claim, in order to claim the maximum points, you only have to work 400 hours. So you get 1 point for every 20 hours work. So you don't actually have to be a full-time residential builder, but you do have to be active during the year. And if you are active for at least 400 hours on residential construction projects, then you could claim those 20 points. And that would leave 20 points for training. Or if you're not active or you're only partly active, then that would be a little bit more points for training. The vast majority of licensees that we've seen so far have been able to claim those active practice points, though. Now, the training has to be in one of the 7 competencies that I'd mentioned before, or in business ethics, and it has to be relevant to residential construction. It comes in many different forms, but the 2 main forms are formal or informal. Now, formal training is usually in a classroom. It can be online learning or a combination of both. And there has to be a successful completion of an examination or an assignment in order to get the points. The core competency courses that CHBA BC puts on are all formal courses. There are other examples of formal learning courses besides the core qualifications courses. Courses provided by the regional construction associations in the North, Southern Interior, Vancouver Island, and Vancouver, for instance, provide formal learning courses. BCIT and colleges such as Selkirk, Langara, Camosun, and Okanagan College also provide formal learning. And the great thing about formal learning is that you get more points for every hour that you put in for formal learning courses. You get 2 points for every hour. So if you are an active builder and you're taking a formal course, really all you need is 10 hours in order to make the 40 points for the year. But you don't have to take formal courses either. There's lots of different opportunities in the informal courses. So conference seminars like today, like this week at Builder Super Week, meetings of industry associations that are related to education and research, product or employer training, and participation in the development of research or education related to residential construction. Now, all of these categories and more information about those categories are on our website at bchousing.org. We approve education and training opportunities as we find out about them, and they'll be posted online and updated regularly. There's currently 70 education providers registered with us, and more than 600 current CPD offerings. So CPD offerings that you could take right now in order to accumulate your CPD points. The CPD reporting will be online through the Builder portal, and you also must keep proof of your attendance and provide it if asked. We will be implementing a little bit of an audit process. It's sort of on the honor system until you're audited, a little bit like your taxes. You will have a nominee. You'll have chosen a nominee actually upon your renewal who will be taking the CPD for you. That could be a partner of an applicant if it's a partnership, a person disclosed as a person in control of the company, or an employer or manager of the applicant if you have somebody who's responsible for managing construction on behalf of the licensee. Or if you're a sole proprietor, it's probably going to be you. So I've got a couple of frequently asked questions that the staff provided me that I'd like to give some information on as well. People often call and ask, how can I find training? Word of mouth, I know, is a very popular way to find out about training. That way you do find out, was it good training? Did your colleague enjoy it? Was it good value for money? But don't forget about the online education registry. It's at bchousing.org under Licensing and Consumer Services. Licensees may also apply to have your education approved. If it's not on the list of approved training, that's fine. If it's one of those core competency trainings, if it's under one of those categories, and if it's verifiable, if you can show proof of attendance if we ask, and it's relevant to residential construction, and it's provided by an acceptable training provider. And you can check with us if you're not sure. If you want to take something and you're just not sure, you can always give us a call or an email, and we'll take a look at it and let you know ahead of time. Another question we have is, what does Group A and Group B points mean? And do I have to take some of each? Group A points are training in the more technical category, so building code, building technology, construction management, and then plus customer service and home warranty insurance. Those are Group A training, and those are considered a priority, so you must log at least half of your CPD in one or more of those categories. It can be a combination. It really is up to you. And you can log all of your training in that category if you want. You don't necessarily have to take Group B training at all. But Group B training, you may take up to half of your training in that. It's the management categories. It's financial planning and management, business planning and management, and legal issues. So you can take up to half of your training in Group B. Oh, and business ethics. Don't forget business ethics, very important. When you look on the education registry, it will tell you what category any particular training falls under. And if it's not on the registry and you want to find out what category, then you can give us a shout if it's not pretty obvious which category it falls under. Folks also want to know, how can I record my CPD? So you can record your CPD points right on that builder portal. And again, if you go to the Licensing and Consumer Services section of the bchousing.org website and find Licensed Residential Builder under Quick Links. Quick Links is right on that front page, and log in with your account ID and password and click on the CPD tab. If the training you took was pre-approved on the registry, it's going to be easier. You search by keyword for that training, and then all you have to do is tick the box that, yes, that's what I took. And then that will automatically be accepted by the system. If you can't find it, or it's not on the registry, then we'll be asking you to fill out some forms giving us a bit more information about when you took the training, what is it about, what's the name, who is the training provider. And then we would have to review that training in order to accept it and for it to show up as approved on your builder portal. The last question was, when should I report the training I've taken? I certainly encourage people to report the training that you've taken as soon as possible afterwards, so it's fresh in your memory and you don't forget. All the things that you're doing this week at Builder Super Week, you'll be able to record online. And that way it can be accepted sooner, and you'll know where you stand ahead of your renewal date. And the best thing about having it all locked up and all of your CPD points online and accepted before your renewal is that then your renewal application can be fast-tracked. A fast-tracked renewal application will take less than 24 hours for approval. And remember that all of your active practice and training, and that's including training put on by BC Housing, like Building Smart events, must be entered into the system. And to remember to keep proof of your attendance and training for at least 3 years, unless you're in case you are asked for it. So that's my overview and my update, and thank you very much.